Welcome to Not This Time. I'm Kayla Burch, and this is where we stop the cycle and choose differently. Welcome back to Not This Time. Today we need to talk about something, and it's something that's incredibly sneaky, it's subtle, and it's messing with a lot of really self-led humans right now. So you keep saying this idea, right? You hear it everywhere, and it's trust your gut. So I'm trusting my gut. Right? I know I'm following my intuition. But what if what you're actually doing is you're actually trusting is a trauma response that you created? And no one's calling this out because it feels so real. Like it feels so real within you. Like it feels like it's your intuition. It's in your body. It's loud. It's urgent. It feels right. But listen to me so clearly. Not all urgency is intuition. Not all fear is protection. And not every freaking nudge that you have is your higher self guiding you forward. We have to be so real about this because some of it is actually a freaking version of you that where you learned to be safe by staying small, by not speaking, by doing this, by creating these reactions and these defenses by what's happening from the outside world. And until we know that difference, we're going to keep calling self-sabotage. We're going to keep calling it a gut feeling and never actually learn to freaking trust ourselves. Right. So today, that's what we're breaking down. Can you tell I'm on fire? Can you tell this is something that's huge because it's so relevant in my coaching calls, in my containers, what I'm seeing on my feeds, all these different things. Like this is something that is just so alive. And it's very, very, very hard to know the difference because there's a myth about trusting your gut. So that's the first big lie that we're going to call out today. So when you hear just trust your gut, that advice only works if your nervous system isn't trained to see threat everywhere. And guess what? Your nervous system is trained to see threat everywhere. And this isn't some like big, like, oh my gosh, I'm always like super hyper vigilant because I think I'm going to be like physically harmed. No, this is emotional harm too. And you've trained your nervous system to be safe, to be small, to be not hurt. So if you grew up thinking and learning to shrink, to shut down, to second guess yourself, to survive, and survival is used very loosely here. We're not meaning actual life or death, right? But our body doesn't know the difference. So your gut is always going to be replaying that. It's always going to be feeling that. It's always going to be leaning into that. And when that trauma leads, intuition gets hijacked. And trauma can be like so many things across the board. It can be, what you feel is big T trauma. And then what you feel is like little T trauma. I'm not here to discern the difference. It's all trauma. Your body doesn't know a difference. It does the things. It creates the patterns. It does things to keep you safe. That's what we're talking about. And so what this sounds like within you is that I just have a really bad feeling about this. And what the translation to that is like, I'm afraid to be seen. So I'll pre-reject this moment. Like I'm going to have a bad feeling about this. I shouldn't say yes to this. I shouldn't show up in this moment because I'm going to pre-reject it. Like, so I don't get hurt. So I don't get seen and I don't get rejected. Something feels off, right? How many times have you heard that, said it to yourself? Okay, well, it feels off. The translation of that is I feel vulnerable. I feel exposed. And I'm calling that unsafe because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be exposed. I don't want people to see me and I don't want people to reject me. Like that's what's happening. Now we have to learn those differences because guess what? There is actual intuition, right? But we're trying to learn the difference between the trauma sneaky voice and then our real voice, our real intuition. So here's the thing. Like I said, trauma sneaky. And it's not always going to come from a super dramatic memory. Sometimes it's just that learned reaction in your body. It's just what you learned to believe, to think, to act. So this trauma voice, this false voice, it sounds like urgency. It sounds like pressure. It sounds like withdrawal. It's avoidance masked as discernment. But your true voice is calm. It's clear. Doesn't beg for safety, right? There's no defensive nature to this. There's nothing trying to keep it safe, right? It's just true. And for me, I've always been urgent. I've always had this urgency within me to like do. And I still fight against it now in this way that I'm naturally defaulted to doing, to do things quickly, And I always thought that that was like, just my true self talking. But really, a lot of the times it is coming from a sense of, I need to act urgently because I need this to get done, because I need there not to be any space for someone to think that I'm not good enough, smart enough, capable enough. Right. So I needed to be fast. I needed to be quick. I needed to get it done. That was me. That was my trauma masked as my true voice. And it just simply wasn't. Now, when I start to move things forward, it doesn't mean I don't take fast action. I still take fast action, but there's a pause there. There's an understanding there, right? It's coming from truth. It's not coming from my trigger. It's not coming from avoidance. It's not coming from fears, right? That's that big difference that we have to get underneath here. There's not confusion about what I should or shouldn't be doing when I'm really tapped in to that true voice, that inner voice, that real deep knowing that I know you're looking for. And so we can talk about some different ways that you can notice this too. Like, what does it feel like in your body? Because there's a lot of just ideas like, listen to your true voice. And, we're even talking about it now, but it's like, but how? But how do I recognize it? How do I know the difference? So this whole thing is all about knowing the difference. So when we're in this like truth space, we're grounded, we're present. Even if there is fear, even if there is a rush of like anxiety, even if there is an unfamiliarity about it and an uncertainty, it's still grounded. You're still you still know, because you are going to be doing something different than what you've ever done before. So of course there's going to be a level of fear and there's going to be a level of uncertainty, because your mind, remember, we're breaking patterns. You're trying to go back to what is known. And so of course it's going to be that. Right. But there's going to be this level, the texture's different from it. You'll know the difference when you really, really stop and listen. You'll know the difference. There's spaciousness within it, right? You have a choice. When you're moving from trauma, there is no choice. You're just doing, you're just reacting. It's not a response, it's a reaction, right? So you're feeling clear when it's in truth. You're not spinning. It's not a sense of like I have to have this control, right? There's maybe curiosity about what it will be, but it's not like this has to be this way or everything that I have will fall apart, right? There's so many different ideas and ways that we can look at this. And so when we react from these stories that we've created, there's a lot of tension in our chest. There's a need to decide now or to run away or decide never, right? There's also the withdrawal, like I'm never going to decide. You're looping, you're proving, you're defending. There's a lot of self-protection that has to come up. So is it self-check question here is this coming from peace or is this coming from protection? So you don't need to skip this. You just need to pause, because most of us have never actually heard our truth, right? We've only heard what we've built, those voices in our head, those many versions of us that we've created, this army of identities that we have to keep us safe, the version of you that was silent so you didn't get rejected or made fun of, like the version of you that, didn't want to be, again, seen. A lot of this is about being seen, right? But that version of you just people pleased because you were always showing up in a way where you were bending over what you really want and your needs to make other people happy, right? Because you didn't want to be rejected. And so all we have 40 different versions of us in our head of these identities that we built. So we have to be able to learn and discern between what we're talking about. So you can start hearing that real voice again, not the one that is just clouded from everyone and everything else. That's that key here. That's what we're looking for. So you have to start trusting yourself. You have to start rebuilding your ability, or maybe even building it for the first time, to build the muscle of trust. So slowly you listen, you make small decisions, right? Without having to ask everybody. I know for me in my life, I couldn't make a single decision without asking my best friend and my husband. I just couldn't, even if I knew it to be true and I felt it, I still felt a lack of trust from myself. I had to get input from everybody else. And the funny thing is that sometimes I would get input that would be against what I wanted to do, and I would just do what I wanted to do anyway. But I don't know why I needed it. It was like I needed to run it through the filter to know that I was actually making the decision that I thought was right. But you don't need that, right? You start with that, oh, I can trust myself. You can feel the fear and still move forward in expansion, right? You don't have to outrun fear. That is not how it has to be. Right. And also just stop labeling everything, every discomfort as danger, right? We're learning to trust that we have the ability to move through. If something hard comes up, we have that ability to move through it. right? Let your no be enough and let your yes feel safe. Let your no feel safe, right? Like all of these different aspects, like just stop outsourcing your own clarity and listen to yourself, listen to your own knowing, listen to when this is coming from, your trauma, your conditioning, your state. You have to be able to know that difference. So this is something that is big right now that a lot of people are going through. So if you're realizing that you've been confusing your trauma with your truth, or you don't know how to discern the difference, and if you're done that second guessing with yourself and calling it discernment, then this is the time where we build that. Like I have a space for you. It's called the expansion experience. And this is where I help high capacity humans stop white knuckling their growth and really live the life that they want without spiraling into these patterns. All right. We really start to rewire those patterns. We recalibrate the nervous system. We go through all of these different things. So you start to hear you again, your real voice, and you start to live out of that, not the one that's shaped from fear. And there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of undoing, right? So I'm going to drop the link below. You don't need more signs. You just need to actually start trusting yourself. And that is what it is for. So I also want to know from you, drop in the comments, tell me, send it in an email. What is it for you? Where do you need to start building your trust? What did you take away from this episode? Did you see where you have been living out of that fear and that trauma and starting to transmute that into that deep inner knowing and that self trust and speaking from that version? I cannot wait to hear it. And I'll see you next week.